become a lot more lazy, or as far as outward symptomology. There's inward symptomology and there's outward symptomology.
Well, I'll tell you what,
see with your own eyes.
Well, let's do this because I think both are very important. So when we come back from the break, we want to talk a little bit more about the inward symptomology and the outward symptomology, because I'm sure that our listeners are thinking, well, how would I know if my girlfriend or my son or my daughter or whoever may be impacted by opioids, or I think I might have a feeling that something's going on. So I'll tell you what, when we get back from the break, let's talk more about the symptoms of opioid use and talk about some of the other impactful things that we're seeing as one of the leading experts in the field of opioids at the Homeland Security and Criminal Justice Institute. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, we have Professor Arnold Atkins, who has joined us tonight to talk about opioids. So keep it locked. We'll be right back.
This is Straight No Chaser Talk Radio. We're just getting started. Straight No Chaser Talk Radio.
He's drinking that with no chaser.
Today in school, I learned a lot. In chemistry, I learned that no one likes me. In English, I learned that I'm disgusting. And in physics, I learned that I'm a loser.
Today in school, I learned that I'm ugly and useless. And in gym, I learned that I'm pathetic and a joke. In history, I learned that I'm trash.
Today in school, I learned that I have no friends. In English, I learned that I make people sick. And at lunch, I learned that I sit on my own because I smell. In chemistry, I learned that no one likes me.
In biology, I learned that I'm fat and stupid. And in math, I learned that I'm trash.
The only thing I didn't learn in school today?
The only thing I didn't learn today?
The only thing I didn't learn
is why no one ever helps.
Kids witness bullying every day. They want to help, but they don't know how. Teach them how to stop bullying and be more than a bystander at stopbullying.gov. A message from the Ad Council.
The path to happiness is not the easy one, but taking drugs will not make it easier. Many people got lost and end up losing their life to drugs. If you or anyone that you know is within that path, don't be afraid to seek for help. Visit www.adk.gov.my for information related to drug abuse. So, know your path. This message is brought to you by the National Anti-Drugs Agency.
In our world, in our country, and in our cities, on our streets, in the alleys behind our homes, there are orphans, foster and homeless children who are the victims of child abuse and neglect. Hello, I'm Malcolm McDowell. Now, 80% of these children will end up homeless, and 60% will end up in prison without our help. They're good kids with bad parents, or no parents at all. They feel helpless, unloved, and full of despair. Oftentimes thrust into a world where dangerous influences lurk to prey upon their innocence. Safety Harbor Kids has developed a solution to help these children.
Safety Harbor Kids helped me get a job. Safety Harbor Kids let me know someone cares.
Safety Harbor Kids helped me go to college.
Help change a child's life forever by supporting safetyharborkids.org today.
Welcome back to Straight No Chaser. And before we left, we were talking with Professor Arnold Atkins from the Homeland Security and Criminal Justice Institute at the Anne Arundel Community College. And tonight we're talking about opioids, which is a situation that has become out of hand, according to the federal government and other local law enforcement agencies and health agencies across the country. And we just kind of wanted to have a conversation this evening to talk about what are opioids, what are some of the symptoms of opioid addiction, and how can you tell if one of your family members might be experiencing that type of difficulty. So before we left for the break, Professor Adkins was talking about the internal symptoms and the external symptoms. So, Professor Adkins, I'm going to let you get back. So if you don't mind starting off with the external one more time, just in case some of us may have forgotten what you said, and then let's talk a little bit about the internal symptoms.
Yeah. Okay. If I see someone who I think may be abusing opiates, some of the things you're going to see once again is a change in their eyes. Okay, depending on how much they have in their system, whether they're withdrawing, et cetera, et cetera. If they have opiates in their system, you may see constricted pupils. Once again, it's the only classification of drugs that will constrict your pupils. Sure. Another thing you're going to see is a change in all of their habits, a change in every single one of their habits, especially if they're abusing the drug. And unfortunately, I use the term, the drug is now controlling them. Now you're probably going to see a change in the people that they're around, the type of clothes that they wear, their energy levels, their change in habits as far as school. Sure. If it's somebody who's older, you may start to see somebody who's always borrowing money because they need money for the drugs. They may even pay you back, but they're always borrowing money. They've become very lethargic and laid back. That socially they're not the same because now the drug is controlling them. And now, unfortunately, this opiate abuse, heroin abuse has become a full-time job, but it's now a job because every 4 to 5 hours or so, what happens is they start to withdraw. Depending on how long they've been using, how much their body has become adapted to these narcotics, because in order for you to withdraw, you must have developed a certain tolerance level. And if you've developed that certain tolerance level, you will withdraw every 4, 5, 6 hours. And it's like having the worst case of flu that you could ever imagine. If you've never had the flu, multiply that by 10. That's what withdrawing from heroin or opiates is like. So you will see a vast change in an individual. Internally, what happens is their motor coordination slows down. A narcotic analgesic is a drug that slows the body down. The blood pressure, the heart rate, everything becomes slowed down. Once again, because legally and medically, the drug was created because the drug wants you to sleep. Because once again, when you sleep, we heal. When we're walking around during the day, going to work, going to school, whatever it may be, our body is sped up. So the body can't use that energy to heal from a broken leg or from surgery. So that drug was created not only to help you to sleep so that you can heal, but also so that you don't feel any pain. It anesthetizes your body from feeling pain. So there's a multitude of things. But once again, I always have to say that, and this may not help, but depending on the individual may depend upon, and a lot of times will depend upon what you see, because we have a lot of, just like we have a lot of functioning alcoholics, we have a lot of functioning heroin addicts that have full-time jobs and have families and go to church and coach Little League. You know, they may come across as normal, but they're not.
Well, one of the questions.
So it's hard to put.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
One of the questions that we received was, what is the difference between PCP and opioids? And that was just based on your description of the threshold of pain and that kind of stuff.
Well, PCP was a drug that was created as a human anesthetic. And I think it was invented in 1954 by Cerner Labs. Just like heroin is the most effective pain relief medication known to man. But unfortunately, because of the side effects, we had to ban it as a medication in this country because of its safety.
Okay.
PCP, probably the best anesthetic known to man. But because of the side effects, and we all know what those side effects are.
Yes, sir.
Because of the side effects, we could never legalize it as a medication for humans. But when we undergo surgery, we're near death.
Okay.
Our blood pressure's down, our heart rate is down. We're near death when we undergo surgery.
Sure.
But PCP was the only anesthetic that kept the heart rate up, kept the blood pressure up. So you were safer while you were having surgery done.
Sure.
But because of the side effects, PCP is a unique drug in and of itself. Now, the DEA, the government, classifies PCP as a hallucinogen. It's not. PCP is the only central nervous system drug that has 4 different types of effects.
Okay.
So a true pharmacologist puts us in its own drug category. But PCP is an anesthetic.
Okay. Well, I tell you,
that completely anesthetizes the body. It's not pain relief. It's not a narcotic. It's an anesthetic.
Gotcha.
It does 2 different types of things.
Gotcha. Well, Professor Adkins, we have a caller on the line, and caller, yes. you are live with us on Straight No Chaser.
Chief, how are you?
Good afternoon, sir. How are you?
I'm okay. This is Phil Lee from Prince George's County.
Good afternoon, Mr. Lee. How are you, sir?
I'm okay. Usually text, but Dr. Atkins forced me to pick up the phone and call.
Yes, sir.
Atkins, how are you? Dr. Atkins, can you hear me, Chief?
Dr. Atkins.
Barely, sir. Happy holidays to you, sir, but I can barely hear you. Mike might have to repeat what you're saying. Your voice is kind of low.
Oh, okay. I'll try this.
Can you? I can hear. I can hear you. I just have to be quiet.
Okay, I'm here in Prince George's County, and I work very closely with our state's attorney. I have the youth diversion program. So children are with
Yeah, Mike. I can't hear him, Mike.
Okay. Mr. Lee was saying that he works with the diversion program, and he works very closely with the children.
A diversion with who? The courts, DEA, with who?
Oh.
With the courts with the state's attorney's office in Prince George's County.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think he can hear you now. Go ahead, Mr. Lee.
So my question, my concern, because obviously I'm always working with children, and you touch quite often on this thing of education, ignorance, and children just not being aware. And then I listen to you talk about the external symptoms. Here's the problem. Too many of our children, unfortunately, they start out smoking weed.
Right.
What I find is too often it's simply what I call negative peer pressure. But what the weed does is it takes them into that market. It takes them to that place where we won't go, and so they are exposed to opiates and these other drugs. My problem is the parents, because they become accustomed to seeing the way their children look, they don't see any further than what they think is now their normal child.
Sure.
I've had
Right.
bring children into my office, and parent didn't know that the child was sitting there charged with a crime and high when he comes in for his hearing.
Wow.
What I would want to know is, and like yourself, of course, it's many, many years ago when I came out of school, I did go to work for DEA, and I was assigned to Narcotics Treatment Administration. We had to do an educational campaign, because what we realized at that time was too many people were getting hooked on heroin was the drug of choice then. And as you know about heroin, it just does not take long before that straight 4.0 student is hooked. But it was because they simply did not know what they were getting into. They sit around with their friends, everybody's talking, they're having drinks, and the next thing you know, the drug is introduced. How do we deal with this in our schools, which, by the way, don't want to talk about this in the classroom? Which is where it starts. We don't make our children aware of the dangers, the consequences of this narcotic. Children who don't realize that marijuana is a narcotic. They just know what it's nothing but weed. What do we do about that?
Well, you made 4 good points. I appreciate you coming on. You've made 4 good points that I've been trying to hammer down people's throats for years. Because once again, I go back to when I was researching this topic to teach it at the FBI Academy, what I started to learn and how my eyes became open to this issue. But I was demand reduction coordinator with DEA for about 8 years when I worked in Baltimore. And I used to go to schools all around the country. I used to speak at seminars and conferences all around the world. But there were some schools that didn't want me to come there. There were some schools that refused to talk about sex education. There were some schools that refused to talk about substance abuse because they thought that if they talked about it, it would tempt those kids to gravitate towards those types of things. I didn't understand it, but you're absolutely right. I got some kickback from some of the schools. Some of them thought that I was going to come in and start investigating their kids for selling drugs, et cetera, et cetera. But you're absolutely right. We do a disservice to ourselves by not educating these kids the stuff that they've already become educated to. And I think if you continuously...
I'm sorry. I wanted to make one
comment
because I don't want to hold up the phone. And I guess this is the conversation we can talk about for the next 3 weeks and still have a long way to go. But I'm